The major thing we are doing for this week is we are completing our first short essay. These are 2-page mini essays in which you will be announcing an argument and supporting that argument. Think about these as mini essays that are preparing you for the final essay, which will be about 5 to 7 pages long. We're doing that in week 6, so you don't have to worry about it right now. But these short essays are 2-page practices for that longer one. So in this video, I want to give you a form that you can use, not just for this essay, but for really any literature essay, or really any English paper. All right? Now, the first part of our papers is an introduction. All right? Now, I want to give you a form for writing these introductions. All right? Now, an introduction has 2 main goals. The first is it sets up an argument. And then the second is it announces that argument. All right? Now, I want you to think about your introduction as a triangle. All right? It's a triangle starting big and ending small. All right? Now, this is what I mean by that. One of the first moves of an introduction, and this is the big part, is to just ease your reader into the essay and into your point. This can be as simple as introducing the story to a particular idea or to a particular topic. So for example, you can start off a paper talking about the importance of endings in stories, right? An ending of a story forces us to revisit all of the pieces of information that we got up until that point. All right? You can go from there. That's the beginning of an essay. So take 2 to 3 sentences to just ease your reader into your overall topic, right? You're starting pretty big, but not too big. Then, after you have those 2 to 3 sentences, you have this part, narrow down. All right? To do this, simply introduce what you are writing about. So mention the title of the story by full title and the author by their full name. All right, so I'll stick with my example where I started off with the idea that endings force us to revisit everything that we have learned up until that point. Now, once I have that, I can narrow down by saying something like, in Young Goodman Brown, for example, Nathaniel Hawthorne, and then go from there, right? Finish that thought. So it basically takes the overall topic and it eases into your particular story. You can do that for probably 2 to 4 sentences. So at this point, you probably have about 6 to 7 sentences already written. All right, so you're in the middle part of the triangle. So the goal is get to the point. The point is the argument. This is your thesis. This is your idea. So once you've looked at pieces of evidence and analyzed that evidence, what is the single most important point of your paper? Do not, for your argument, feel like you need to get everything. You won't. The thesis just gives the main idea of the paper. All right, and throughout the paper, you will come back and prove that argument and even rethink that argument. All right, so it gives you an introduction, starts off big, narrows it down, ends in a point. All right, so that's the introduction. After you have that already set up, you move on to the body paragraphs. These body paragraphs are where you support your main idea. All right, now the first thing to include in a body paragraph is a topic sentence. A topic sentence does 2 things. The first is it captures the idea of that paragraph. So what is your reader going to learn by looking through that body paragraph? One way to think about a topic sentence is as a mini thesis statement. All right, a thesis statement, an argument, captures the overall idea of the paper. Now, a topic sentence captures the overall idea of a paragraph. All right, so they do the same kind of work. The focus is just a little bit different. All right, so that's the first thing a topic sentence does. The second thing the topic sentence does is it goes back to the argument. Your reader should be able to look at that topic sentence and figure out how it directly relates to your point. If you're not sure about whether you're doing this, here's a very quick tip. Take an index card or separate sheet of paper and write down your thesis statement. Now, after you do that, move that thesis statement down your paper. Put it next to each topic sentence. So one side will have the thesis statement, one side will have the topic sentence. Try to relate them to each other. If you cannot directly relate them to each other, odds are your reader will not be able to either. That is the topic sentence. The other main thing that we'll be including in our body paragraphs is our evidence. In your papers, you must use quotes. These are by far, the strongest ways to make your arguments stick. It is only by giving a quote that you can really analyze the evidence. If you do not include a direct piece of evidence from the story, it's actually really, really hard to get away from summary. And as I mentioned in one of the lectures from last week, we are moving away from summary and towards analysis. All right, so every body paragraph should have a topic sentence and evidence, and likely this will be a quote that you analyze and relate to your overall idea. All right, so that gives you an introduction, and it gives you a structure for body paragraphs. You do not have to include just 3 body paragraphs. These do not have to be 5-paragraph essays. Odds are either your short papers or your final papers will not be a 5-paragraph essay. Simply use as many body paragraphs as you need to prove your point. All right, now once you have the body paragraphs, you write a conclusion. This is how I want you to think about a conclusion. When I was taught how to write conclusions, I was taught something that always felt really weird to me. Someone told me that a conclusion simply restates what you've already said. That felt so weird to me because what you could theoretically do is look at a paper, put a giant X through the conclusion, and it would make no difference. Nothing would change. All right? That makes me uncomfortable. So you do not have to do that. Your conclusion can do far more than just restate your point. Now I'm going to give you a form for doing that. One way to think about a conclusion is as a reverse introduction. So an introduction started off big, ended small. Cool. Now for a conclusion, you're going to start small, you're going to get big. All right? This is what I mean by that. You start with the point. All right? So restate your main idea in 1 to 3 sentences. Super short. Your restatement of the main point should not be the overall paragraph. All right? Do it quick. You can do it in 1 to 2 sentences. What is your point? What is the meat of your essay? That's the point. Then open up. All right? When I say open up, all I mean is that you are taking what you've already written and have already thought about and are moving it around. All right? Here are some ways of doing that. The first way of doing it is to think about the implications of your argument. All right? So if, for example, your argument is that Hawthorne's ending encouraged us to revisit the opening of the story and to poke at it and see that opening as not serious. Cool. That's your argument. You've supported it, right? Now, if you want to think about in your conclusion the implications of the argument, so what? Why should we care? All right, so what does your argument mean for how we understand the story? That's one version of doing it. Another version of doing it is what does your argument mean for how we understand literature? All right, so this helps you out. It moves your argument around. All right, another way of opening up your argument, so that's the implications one. Another way of doing it is to connect your thoughts on that story to another story. All right, so once you went through and, for example, have analyzed Young Goodman Brown by Nathaniel Hawthorne, how does Hawthorne's use of that ending compare to one of the fairy tales? All right, if you take this option, you do not have to use quotes for that other example. So if your focus is Goodman Brown and you want to compare it to the ending of Cinderella, for example, you can be very, very simple with your understanding of Cinderella. The goal is to focus on your main idea and the story that you have really chose to make the primary focus. So you can compare and contrast and do it pretty quickly. The goal is to open up your argument by bringing another text into the conversation. All right, so those are two major ways to open up your argument and to write a really, really good conclusion that allows you to move things around and to push your argument further. If you are still stuck on any of the parts of this form that I just gave you, reach out to me. I will help you out. And also, if you look in the stuff for this week, you will see that there is a Word document giving you even more information on it.